we got it. You're good. It's here so far. You know what I mean? Hold on, what's that scratching sound? Good morning! We are working on a pretty elaborate project. We're starting something that I think will be pretty fun. We'll see if that pans out. We're gonna be totally demolishing this area that I am sitting, and this is where our wood stove goes. It has cement board on the ground, and then it's got this tile on the back. It's not quite the most pretty. The cement board has started to crumble. There's a little bit of like glass tiling around the edge that's chipping away. It's not looking so good. And to be honest, this tile on the back never really looked that good to begin with. We're missing some pieces and it's all mismatched back there. Now that wasn't a huge concern to me and Eric because it's functional, so it worked for 4 years, but I think we're just at this point now where we're like, let's take care of this, let's improve it, let's make it a little bit better. So we're gonna be doing some fun stuff. We are going to be pouring a concrete slab and putting tile as the heat shield behind the wood stove. This is the perfect time to do it. I know you would think, why would you not do this in the summer? But summer is just so jam-packed here that usually projects like this you're kind of like forced to do them in the winter. So we have our ventless propane heater heating up the house for us. This is probably going to take a week to get it all done, and Eric and I have to get started with demolishing. So it's demolition day. Well, that's not too bad. Exciting stuff here. Is this your favorite part?
No. I like laying tile. No, I've never done it before.
Yeah, I think so. That's it.
We're finding some stuff that was wrong here. So these bricks, they only went out to right here. And you know, the wood stove goes to right here. So we knew we wanted to rip out this drywall and we wanted to put the fiber cement board there with the tiles. But part of this brick wasn't even laid on the fiber cement board. It was just laid directly on drywall, which is not good. So this is all getting torn up, all this, and we're going to replace this whole section here along with this about 2-foot section of the drywall. And then we might even go up a little higher with our tile, but we're almost there. This stuff is a pain to get off the wall. It's really glued on there. There it goes. Oops, that wasn't one. But we got the whole backing and side off. We're gonna tackle this bottom piece next, and then after that, we're gonna give it a nice vacuum, and we're gonna kind of be like down to square one, and we can really decide how we're gonna build this thing back up. So this is just that fiber cement board, and I think there's just some screws, so hopefully this comes up pretty easy.
I didn't even know there was wood under
Oh,
there.
so there's like a full sheet of OSB under there.
Even had a little support bar down there. Well, we're a few hours into this project and it turns out that we are already due for another trip to the hardware store. We do not know exactly what we're doing. We tried to really do a lot of research, but this area, we didn't know what it was going to look like until it was basically demolished and cleaned up. So that's the case now. We've got it demolished, it's taken apart, we see what's underneath here, and we now have an idea of what we're working with and how we want to proceed. So we do need to make a trip. We're going to go run and grab a few things, and then hopefully we'll at least get this area ready to be able to pour concrete soon. Get your socks and that stuff. Whoa, it's like super cold.
Let's go one more time.
And then you fold it in half?
And then you lift it up and you smack it, and apparently it breaks in half.
You smack it?
That didn't work. Let me cut it deeper. Okay. Look at that. Dang it, that was a pretty clean cut.
Nice job.
Oh my gosh, look at that. Well, we're back at it. Arielle went through and sealed the cracks and the nail holes in the floor. That way, when we go to pour our concrete, it's not just gonna like seep through the floor. So that's drying. We got one piece of the backer board up. We got it cut. We're using these special screws that are specifically meant for this backer board, and it was like 15 bucks for this little box, but we're trying to do this thing right. We also got this really cool laser level, and that's this red line here on the wall. And what I'm doing with it is I'm marking, see that little black mark? That's where the studs are. So the stud runs from there all the way down. I'll be able to put my little screws in. It's going good. We went to the store, we got back, we're back on track. There it goes.
A lot of prep work today. We're doing so much prep work, and I think it's worth it. This area is going to look fantastic when it's done, but there's just so much to do to get this area ready. We're getting a lot done. Eric got that hardy board up, and then what I'm doing now is putting some mortar in this gap. We knew there was going to be a big gap here because there's this wall, somehow something is askew. So this is going to make it perfect. We're actually going to be doing the tile over this to the drywall. So we have drywall, and then we have the cement board. So we have like a seam here that we're figuring out how we want to fill it. We're going to do this mortar and some tape. And then I think I may do like a joint compound on the top. I'm not really sure yet because there's a little bit of a discrepancy too between the board and then the drywall. All this stuff is just going to make it easier for when we actually go to lay our tile, and it's going to make everything look better. So I've got to get this all done tonight, and then I'm going to cover up, I'm probably going to cover up these little screw holes too. This stuff is really, really cool.
Yeah, it is, huh?
Is it mortar or is it, it's
It's a tile adhesive, but it's mortar, so I don't know what the correct term is, but...
and then you put some on top of it. I don't know. I think this may be my calling right here. Last thing we're doing for the night is priming our floor, our subfloor, and we made the decision to do that kind of last minute. Not everyone does that before pouring concrete, but we're going to do it because we do not want to risk, I guess, like this wood swelling or anything like that. So I feel like it'd just be best to have a primer down. That was recommended by some folks, and that's what advice I'm taking. Today is the big day. We are going to be pouring concrete inside of our house for our hearth, and we're just getting set up out here. We woke up to a bunch of snow, surprisingly, so Eric had to get a path cleared for us so we can work out here. We've got the forms cut for the concrete. This winter has been strange so far. It was a little late to arrive. We got some snow, it dipped down cold, and then it warmed back up. All of the snow was gone as of yesterday, and then now I think we have like another 6 inches. I'm not sure if it's going to stick around this time, but we've got to get to work.
Well, here's the plan. We need to get some extremely straight cuts here. This is melamine board that we're going to be using for the mold. Supposedly it'll just pop right off the concrete really easily, so that's why we're using this. And we need our mold to be 1 3/4 of an inch tall. So I'm gonna try to use this 2x4, clamp it down, and I'm gonna compensate for this little guard on our saw. And hopefully this will be like a nice level surface that I can just run that saw along and we'll get a perfect cut. You just put it down there.
Oh, I didn't know if we'd go past this piece. We are finally ready to rock. I think it's taken us probably like 3 days to get to this point. I feel like we're taking on a lot. We're taking on concrete, drywall repair, and tiling, which is all completely new to us. And this was actually Eric's idea to do this little slab indoors. He knows that we're gonna do some concrete upcoming in the future, and we wanted to get a little bit of experience under our hands. So that's what this is going to be, and I think it's going to turn out great. There is thankfully something called the internet, and I was able to find a lot of videos on these subjects. So I just watched like probably 100 videos and tried to extract all the information from those in order to help us. We are going to be using countertop mix Quikrete, and we settled on that for one main reason. It has a higher PSI, which is pounds per square inch, so that just means that it's actually a little bit stronger of concrete. I feel like I want to set us up for success, and although cracking can happen, I just want to try to make sure that it's not going to happen. And we're also going to have the wood stove here, so that is considerably heavy. This type of concrete is actually used a lot on countertops. Another reason that we settled with that one was when we were doing some research on pouring concrete indoors, we kind of came across like a lot of people doing floors or micro topping, which is a thin layer of concrete, or concrete countertops. It's very common, I think, nowadays that people are leaning towards that. So there was a lot of information, and this is what we ended up going with. It is pretty costly. It's like 3 times the cost of normal concrete that you'd use outdoors, but I think we're gonna get a great result. So that's it. We're gonna get our hands dirty, and I think Eric's gonna be mixing the concrete, and then we're gonna be putting it in together. We'll see how it goes. Down as it's drying.
Say all that.
Oh, it doesn't say anything?
Maybe on the back, I don't know.
Looks good to me. Can you aerate it too much? Do you know what I mean? Like by spinning it too much? It says just do for 3 minutes.
I don't think you can.
When you get the chance to mow, it will be awesome. Or do you want to start mixing more? I would say that's almost the same thickness.
Yep.
all together.
4x6, yeah.
So pretty much more though, because you've already used one. This mix is supposed to be super stiff, so that is why it is like really thick, I guess. Eric is working as fast as he can. We have one more to go, and then we can get our screed in here to level things off. She's thick. Look at that, it levels itself. Whoa, that's spot on. It's like in between the two forms, or the two lines. Okay. It's pretty good looking stuff, I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I think that's where the finishing touch is gonna help us kind of come into play. But I don't know. We're screeding, which is where you level the concrete into the forms that Eric and I have. So we're using legitimately a level, and we're just going back and forth. It doesn't quite work as good as it probably should, because we don't have an edge over there. We don't have like a retainer and then beyond the wall. And then this also doesn't reach the whole way, but it's pretty cool. As I'm doing it, you can really tell it's self-leveling concrete. So it's definitely working into the spots it needs to. And then we're using a magnesium float to do some of those finishing or softening strokes, but it's a little challenging. I've never done this before. And Eric had this really genius idea to put this wood right here so we could do the corner over there. Oh man, I am gonna have a hard time getting that out, huh? Let's take that out. We're done with that.
Oh yeah, I just saw a bubble pop up.
Yeah, they're popping. The more water we add too, I think it'll pop a little more. Really needs it. It's really scooped it down here. We're almost done with the magnesium float. This job, I feel like I could be doing it for hours, so I'm just gonna like have to call it quits. And then we're gonna have to get back at it with the finishing trowel, which is another step. We used 6 bags in total of 80-pound countertop mix, which is awesome. We had another bag to spare, but this was the perfect amount.
So I'm just going along our form, and I'm slightly tapping it with this rubber mallet, and I've probably been doing it for like 15 minutes altogether. What I'm trying to do is get it so when we take off these forms, the little air bubbles aren't sitting between the concrete and our form. So as I'm hitting it, every once in a while you'll see a little tiny air bubble come up and pop. And I'm just gonna do this for a while. Hopefully we can get them all out. I'm gonna really try on this main corner. And as this concrete is sitting here and Arielle went over it with a magnesium float, you can definitely tell that a lot of the moisture has risen to the top. So we're gonna kind of wait until that moisture has started to evaporate, and then we'll move on to the next step. What we can do is hook the generator up to it. Use the electric start. You know what I mean? It's been 2 hours. I broke the snowblower, fixed the snowblower, broke the snowblower again. This stuff's ready to be finished. Arielle's gonna go over it with a little trowel. Finish this job off tonight.
Well, we're still kind of waiting. It's actually taken like 3 hours for this to bleed. The water, I guess is the terminology, but it's working decently well right now. you want to hear like a scraping sound. You want it to be like where you can push your finger and it leaves a small imprint, but not actually really wet or not actually really too hard either. So you want to catch it in time. I think we're a little early, so we need to let it go a little bit longer, but we were just figuring out how I could get all the way to the back. Eric had to kind of like hold me and lead me over there to get to that back corner. I think it looks good though.
Well, the snowblower's running again, besides running out of gas. What happened was the belt fell off, the drive belt, so it wouldn't move forward. And as soon as we got that back on, I went to pull start it and the pull cord ripped. So we had to take it apart, fix that. And we're outside this morning. It's a chilly morning. It was 2 degrees when we woke up. The concrete is curing or drying inside. So we're gonna kind of try to get ahead, and we're gonna work on a little shelf outside this morning that's gonna go kind of like on the back of the wood stove. 5, 5 1/4, almost 6, almost 6.
So yeah, so either way we're gonna need to lose some. I'll probably choose this corner. Look at that. So
right.
that'd be that ankle cut right there.
Do you want me to try to cut this one real quick when we're done? Pretty decent for me. Huh, it's gonna be almost perfect.
Bonus points to anyone who remembers what this birch slab originally was. Eric and I purchased it a few years back. Actually, I think it was right when we moved here, and we built something out of it indoors that we no longer have. We turned it into like a cat walkway in our loft, but it has a little bit of rot, so we figured that it would be good to shave it up, and it's gonna be perfect for what we're using it for. So if you remember, let us know. Oh, good, that came out. Note to self, maybe don't use beeswax until you know that you are not going to need to strip it later in the future. We went through about 10 sandpapers trying to do that. Eric is going to work on building us a bracket. We wanted to do floating shelves, but I think because this is a corner shelf, you have to do a special type of shelf for that, and it seems a little bit maybe ambitious for us. So Eric's got something else in the works that he's gonna get started on.
Get in there. Is this thing really that hot?
It's singeing the wood.
Finally get to use my new little heat gun I bought. I got this thing from a garage sale, it's brand new in the box. I'm pretty sure I only paid $5 for it. It's a Bosch. So this thing's gonna come in handy this winter. I use the torch for a lot of things that get frozen, but sometimes you don't want a direct flame on certain things like windows and stuff like that. So we're seeing if this is gonna heat this metal up enough where I can bend this thing at a 90-degree angle that's gonna fit in the corner of the house. The propane torch isn't working very well because it was outside and it got a little cold. But let's give this another go. Little over.
Do you want to go see how it works in the house?
Sure. Well, that's it. That's going to be our little shelf. It's going to sit in the corner. This part is going to screw to some studs in the walls, and then the shelf will sit on these little brackets. And we're just going to go ahead and clean up some of those welds I did. This is a cutoff wheel, so this is what we use to cut the metal. It's extremely thin, and that's used for cutting. We're going to put on the grinding wheel. it's a little thicker. We're gonna be able to grind down those welds.
Not bad.
Not bad, right? Got primer put on our little shelf bracket. We start with the gray primer and then we're gonna do a semi-gloss black when that dries. But it has been 48 hours since we laid our concrete. That means that the molds are ready to come off, and this is the moment we've been waiting for. Oh, look at that. It's already coming off. Okay, no leakage, right? Oh man. Okay. Well, that came right off because we used the melamine board, which is like slick, and then Arielle also went through with a little paper towel and she wiped the insides of these down with olive oil. This thing is so cool. We got a lot on the hardwood floor.
Let's just not talk about that, you know what I mean?
Which is not good. That came right off. Oh, look. The sticker came off in it too. I guess you should have taken the sticker off. This is absolutely amazing. I'm pretty stoked at how this is turning out. And the concrete pad itself, towards the edge, because it went over the hardwood floor a little bit, it was like an 1 3/4 inches, and then the rest of the slab is 2 inches thick. So this thing is turning out pretty freaking sweet so far. Look at this thing.
That's a wrap for our first ever slab pour indoors. Even though it may be small, Eric and I have only done fence posts before, so this is really a big, it's very ambitious, shall I say. So all in all, it went really well, we feel. There were probably some mistakes made, and I'm gonna go over that, but I think it turned out pretty good so far, so I'm excited about it. It's not done yet. We do have to seal it, so it's still curing too. Concrete, from what I've read, takes a very long time to completely cure. We're gonna be sealing it before then, but it takes like a month to actually cure to its full strength, they say. You may have noticed that we didn't use any reinforcement like rebar or fencing or anything like that. We had contemplated back and forth whether we were gonna do that. If you're doing a thin slab, like in our case, it's not always necessary, and I had read some things saying you maybe don't wanna do it because it could cause this. So I don't really know if that was the right choice or not. I hope it was. 3 things to take away, I feel, from this project. You may find this helpful if you are a DIYer yourself, is leveling. So leveling is super crucial, especially for tile and planning ahead. And I think Eric and I did a really good job on that. We really took into consideration the walls and the floor. It's not quite perfect over here. No house really is. So you just have to account for that. Ideally, we would have probably poured this, what's called precast, where you pour it somewhere else and then you bring it in once it's done. We did cast in place, and so that does pose some challenges. That brings me on to my second one, which is vibrate the heck out of the concrete. Everyone else says that, and it's totally true. On the sides, we do have some voids, and that's from not vibrating it enough. We could only vibrate to a certain extent, again, because this was poured in place. So if you have it up high on like a table or something, you could probably get to it underneath and all that. So definitely don't skip on vibrating. You want to vibrate the heck out of it. The voids don't really bother us too much on the edge, and we do have the option of filling them. I'm not sure if we're going to do that. The last thing that I wanted to mention is troweling. So nowhere in my research did I see about troweling too early. So that's like that last step that I was doing, and you probably saw that when I was making those marks or doing that little finishing step, there was quite a bit of bleed water still on the concrete, and that is bad news. So definitely try to probably look up like the do's and don'ts of concrete. That'll come up first, I'm sure. I didn't know there was a big deal if you trowel too early, and apparently what can happen is some of that bleed water gets worked back into the concrete, so you compromise the structural integrity just a little bit, and that's because the bleed water is trapped back into the concrete and it can't evaporate. When we were doing this, we kind of realized that it didn't seem right, so we actually pulled back and we waited till about the 6-hour mark to finish the rest of our troweling. I think it's gonna be okay, but one of the things that did happen as a result of that is we're having some powdering or dusting, and that's where the concrete on the top, you can touch it and you'll see some dusting. I actually realized it because Bo stepped on our concrete prematurely. He stepped on it twice and we saw some powdering happening. So I'm hoping that we can just finish that off by sanding and then still be able to seal it. We'll see. I know there's some other options if it doesn't work out that way. Take home point with that is don't trowel too early. Obviously, if you were paying a professional to do this, you're not only paying for their labor and the materials, but you are paying for their experience and their knowledge, which I have yet to learn. So I'm learning, we're learning, and I think it turned out pretty cool. And next up is going to be our tile. We're gonna wait another full day before we get on this concrete and start putting our mortar back here, but we're choosing between two different tiles. We have gray and antique white, so let us know what you think. We're having a hard time choosing. They're both beautiful. That's it for this session. We are going to get back at it tomorrow, and hopefully it'll be finished off in another week or so.